So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in YouTube land. This is David Sosa. It's been a while. I wanted to just briefly discuss some things of concern and what I'm seeing. I came across a link today that was shared on Facebook for a Soul Creations. It was SOL Creations, and they were a page dedicated to, I believe, African traditional religions through a spiritual lens. The gentleman was claiming to work with several entities of the African traditional religions, ranging from the orisa tradition to voodoo to some other forms. And basically, the problem with that was that he admitted to not being initiated. And a lot of what he was regurgitating in his videos, as far as being information or valid information, as he was speaking from a place of authority in the essence of teaching folk, was misinformation. A lot of it, you could tell, was Googled or was compiled from authors who are not very well versed and authors who cannot be validated by their own peers and community. Some of it was Google Wikipedia regurgitation. Some of it was based loosely on some of the teachings of Awo Falokung and things of that nature. And so there's a lot there in just those mentions that can be dissected by the larger community who knows better and who knows differently than what is. And so my issue as a priest, which is a lot of priest issue, a lot of fellow priests and priestesses issue, are that a lot of people think they can bystep the priesthood and or the actual tradition in which the spirituality is ingrained in. Now, this is not to say you cannot have your own spiritual belief, practice, and or connection to the divine source. I want to be very clear about that. That's not what I'm stating here. However, there are certain traditions, especially within the African traditional systems, okay, in the diaspora, way back to the motherland, in which there are priesthoods, established priesthoods. And the reason why there are established priesthoods is because these entities have various specific ways of which to activate, to initiate conversation with, various ways to incite, to calm, to elicit certain responses. There are liturgies of songs, dances, oring oriki. Just adura. Like there are prayers, and there are so many things to be used to speak to Orisha in the native tongue or in a tongue that it may be an offshoot. Okay, in Lukumi we speak a mixture of Spanish and early 15th, 16th century Yoruba, right? And you will see, and we say Yoruba because that wasn't the language of what it's called, but the group of the people that were named that came from Yoruba land, or what is known as Nigeria commonly now, is where the ancestors came from, and our elders who started the roots of our tradition. Also in Candomblé, you will see a lot of the Brazilian, you see a lot of Portuguese mixed with some of the Yoruba and Angolan terminology and language. And so you start seeing a structure there that's still very much going back to Africa and back to the various specific lands of where these deities and entities came from. This is not ever going to be a Charmed episode where you can just say the name of the orisha or entity you want and then draw something on the floor with chalk or something else and just think that because you called that name and because you lit a candle and because you got a goosebump or a shiver down your neck, that is the orisha or entity responding. That is not the way they work. Now, I'm not saying, again, that as an uninitiated person, you have zero access to these entities. That's not what I'm saying, because you do. But you have a limited access when you're not initiated. And limited does not mean less than, as far as in a way of superiority. It is just a different type of access. That's all I'm saying. It's a different type of access than the one we have as a priest who had initiated. There's a specific set of things that occur when one is initiated, and how their life is opened up and changed, and why and how they accept Orisha how to accept Orisha into their life, into their body, and to become one with that Ashe. And that is the reason why initiation is very, very different. And those who have been through initiation will tell you, we go through major life changes. We go through a whole 80 degree of what we think we know about ourselves, and become some new people. Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse, because we're trying to figure out what this thing is that happened to us, and what this alignment is that was explained to us, that we were told about, but you're never ready for until it comes into your life in a particular kind of way. And that being said, I know that we live in a society where people have felt oppressed. They felt oppressed due to ageism, sexism, colorism, racism, and every other ism. And because of that, the movement to liberate has been to separate and become individualized. And individuality is never a bad thing. The individualized expression of divinity through you as you is never a bad thing. However, again, certain entities are tied to certain people, and they're tied to their priesthoods. They are. This is not arguable. You cannot argue this thing. Okay, you can sit here right now and pray to Ifa, and sit here right now and pray to Ochun, and you may get results. You may feel a peace in your life. You may get something that happens for you and for the better. That in no way would or should discourage you from seeking out the guidance of a priest as to how to further that connection, or as to how are the proper ways to continue that and maintain said thing. It is not a learn by yourself. We are a communal tradition. That is why you will always see any pictures we do allow. It's a gathering of people, because we believe in community. It's this notion of ire owo and omo and ariku. It is riches that is not. It can't even. Owo is not always just money, but it's riches. It's a prosperous value to something. And you have Omo, which is of children, multiplicity, multiplying and becoming more, having, if not even having actual children from your loins, maybe adoption, and maybe even spiritual children, as far as we have the term of right, ahado, or godchild, and godparent, and mentor student, and that whole deal. But you're bringing people into the fold, and you're teaching and multiplying, right? And ariku, one of the other blessings in which we live long enough life to work on our character, long enough life to go out into the world and carry ourselves a particular kind of way, so we can fulfill our destiny in what our Ori has chose for us to come here and fulfill, and live to the fullest, so we can pass down this knowledge and this experience to the next generation. It is never a I thing. And the moments that it does become I, you usually still are not so much dependent, but you need your community to assist in helping you in certain things. It's never just a solitary practice. This is not a solitary Wicca. This is not what that is. And we cannot conflate the two. We cannot try to merge them into some single act. This is not. Go do that with priesthoods that have died and those entities. You want to go with Zeus and Andromeda and Hera and everybody else who you feel that they don't have actual priesthoods anymore. Go do that. Go call on them and see what comes. But leave the Orisha, leave the Vundun Lua, Oloa alone. Leave the Palo Mayombe entities and Kisi and all that. Leave them, Londoki, leave them alone. There's ways. And what happens is that one of the things we're tired of as priests is we bust our asses in rooms, sometimes 8-hour days, physical labor, to learn and to inculcate things in our head, so we can have them down to a basic science for ourselves, and then also pass this on to the next, and all that. And people want to come here and speak with authority off of things they've been told by uninitiated other people. Supposedly this person's taught by an Osset Amun-Ra. I know this woman individually. Her name is Michelle. She lives in Georgia. Me and her corresponded for many years as very close friends. Close friends as close as we can be. I lived in New York, she lived in Georgia, but we spoke a lot about spirituality, sex, food, all of it. We had a great conversation, and I read for her more than a few times tarot cards and gave her readings and tried to direct her. And when I got initiated into Orisha, I told her, what I do know, I can try to help you with and maybe direct you. And then, to give backstory, I had to leave her alone because she was doing her own somewhat, Wiccan thing, and she was trying to empower black women into learning magic, but she was taking Kemetic teachings and melding them with Wiccan teachings, and then started bringing Orisha into it, and all these other ideas, and just mixing and making what we call sancocho. It's just a mix of everything you throw in a pot and see what comes out and try to make the best of it. And that's just not okay for a spiritual practice, especially ones, like I said, that have priesthoods and ones that have working tradition. You can't claim to be reverent of the ancestors and then bypass their whole way of doing things. It's just not okay. So anyway, this lady decided at one point in her journey that she was going to start reading Dilogun, which is Eri Dilogun, the cowrie shells. It's something that people get apprenticed for. I'm talking about hours and days away from their family and friends as they sit through divination after divination after divination to learn, to get it in their head. This is nothing they have a book just by their side. This is nothing they get from YouTube or Wikipedia. This is hands-on knowledge that you get from being amongst your elders, sacrificing time and time away from your families and your loved ones, and fun things to do, to be there in ceremony almost every weekend to learn. And this girl decided she's going to start reading Dilogun, and then told me that Oshun came to her in a dream and initiated her and told her how to read the cowries, but then admitted later in the conversation to having Ochani Lele's book, or Stuart Ibaye, his book, and using that to further inform her. Let me tell you this right now. There is no book published by any Olocha right now that can honestly really tell you the mechanics and the actualities of Dilogun and how deep that can be. You will not learn that from a book. You may get some great tidbits. You may get some really great information you can utilize, when you learn how to really do it and when you learn what's really going on. But I can guarantee you ain't getting it from any of the books that have been published. I know, I've seen them all. And some of those books, what you guys don't know, who are ignorant to the fact or do not know because you're not in the general community, is that a lot of the people who wrote the books are not respected in their community. And even some that are have crazy backstories that can make you question any and everything that's been written in their material. This is what I mean, and I'm not discouraging my people of color who are trying to reconnect to something that looks like them and something that seems not this version of white Christianity, which is out there, or white Wiccan, whatever. And I understand what's going on in the world. I understand what's going on through oppressive systematics. Oppressive systematics. I can't speak today. But there's no reason to cut off the ancestors and insult them by bypassing everything that they put in place for us. Go seek out the priesthoods. Is every priest or every one of us going to be the most amazing person you ever met? Absolutely not. Some of us got bad attitudes. Some of us probably did no character building work, and we know a bunch of things. Or maybe some of us don't even know. We just have a bunch of years under our belt because we were initiated as children. It's a lot of different stories and avenues and things happening, but find yourself a community. Sometimes people have to move to find closeness to that community. Sometimes people find online groups just to get to know people. But I tell you now, I implore you, please, do not think you know Orisha if you are not being guided by an actual initiated Orisha priest. Please do not Google or Wikipedia and go on orisha.space.net or whatever the hell is and get information and think that is valuable and pliable information or reliable at that. It is not. These are tidbits of information that only scratch the surface of what is really going on. So I'm asking folks, please stay in your lane. Be passionate, be faithful about the Orisha and the other entities that you feel an affinity to. But do yourself a favor. Do not disrespect those entities and the culture by which they come from. Do not disrespect the people who have been keeping that culture alive this whole time. It's nothing but appropriation. Y'all can't be mad at appropriation and gentrification happening in neighborhoods and then do the same shit to other people's traditions and cultures. You cannot do that. It is the same thing. So I'm imploring everybody. Half of these folks on YouTube don't know what they're talking about. But you can always go and fact check. The community is small enough for you to always go and confirm who said individual is, if they're actually initiated. And the big question is, who initiated them? You should be able to get that information. What lineage they came from, because we're initiated through lineages. What actual tradition are we practicing in Orisha veneration? Because there's only 4. There are only 4 actual Orisha practices that are actually in existence. Only 4. And they all have very particular ways that can trace back to houses, to elders, to particular places in parts of the world, and even go back to parts of Africa, parts of Nigeria, modern day Nigeria now, of the people they come from. And I'm telling you now, it's never a Google away. It's not that easy. So you go and you fact check, you go ask questions. There's plenty of people in Georgia, there's plenty of communities in California, Florida, New York, Michigan has a booming thing now, a community. They're out there, guys. Canada has some. They're everywhere. Boston, they're there. Look for folks. Look for folks. This is not good. It's not good what we're seeing. And unfortunately, it leaves us priests to have to come clean up, because we get the person who needs the help. We tell them something to do, and they're either confused because it's so foreign from what they've seen on YouTube or heard on YouTube and Google and Wikipedia, that they're like thrown aback, thinking we're the charlatans. Meanwhile, they've been led astray by some non-initiated person who's speaking with authority about things they know nothing about. Can you guys imagine right now signing into a page of somebody talking about medicine and at-home surgeries, and you don't know that they're an actual doctor, so you just go start doing what it is they tell you to do to yourself? It's a whole reason that doctors go and get licensed, that they have an internship, that they get an apprenticeship, that they do clinical rounds under the supervision of already established doctors and physicians. They go before a board and they get reviewed and they get their license and doctorate, and it's a whole thing. It's the same thing with priesthood. We actually go through apprenticeships. We go hands-on. We get observed by our elders, and then we get given the permission to go forward, and we get given the confidence in front of our community to go move forward and act in accordance to the knowledge we've acquired and how we've applied it. It is never just a thing. You cannot self-initiate. No spirit comes to you and initiates you in a dream. That's not the way it works. And anybody who claims to be spiritual and is actually a medium of spirit will know that any spirit can come to you and appear any way it wants to and call itself any name it wants to and do whatever it wants for your attention, your service, your energy, or whatever offering you want to offer it. You have to have a spiritual discernment in order to understand what's happening and what's going on, who, the what, and where's, and how's, than just jumping into shit. Sorry, but I'm really asking you guys, please, if you're uninitiated and you have questions, seek out priests. If you don't like the person you're speaking to, ask them to speak to somebody else. Ask them if they have a referral for you. Can they refer you to somebody else? Questions that should be easy to ask. What system are you initiated into? In my case, my answer would be Lukumi. If somebody was from Nigeria, they might answer with Isheshe. Somebody's from Brazil, they might say Candomblé. If somebody's from Trinidad and Tobago, they might say Shango Baptiste. This is what's out here right now. This is it. People get confused with Santeria. Santeria is a term. It is not a great term. It is not a well-accepted term. Some people do, of a certain age and era, in which case that was just a common name for it, and they were just like, why not? A lot of people just go straight to Lukumi. as the name of the tradition in which the Afro-Cubans, the Afro-Cuban Yoruba people practice and set into place. That's that. So that's a question that should be answered. The next question, who are you initiated to? You should have, when you're initiated to one male Orisha or one female Orisha, and you get accompanying parent Orisha that is either male or female to that. So if you, let's say you were crowned Ogun, you would have, maybe your mother might be Yemaya, or maybe Oshun, or maybe Oya. Get what I'm saying? That. The next one, who initiated you? They should have a person's regular name and their actual spiritual name that's given to them. Okay? And other people in that community should know who these people are and who made them and or who made those people before them. There is always ways to validate and confirm these things. Not just, hi, my name is so-and-so, I have a YouTube channel, please listen to what I have to say. That's not the way it works. Okay? People should have dealings with people. Have you dealt with this person before? Did they do ebo for you? How did the ebo work? What were their prices like? Did they try anything funny with you? Did they ask you something that you felt was odd? Or ask these questions. These are great questions to ask. But don't get up on here so impassioned and emblazoned with your passion and your faith that you want to start speaking about things you have no idea about. It is not a good look. It is doing more damage. If you really care about your people, you claim it and you all for it for the people, you need to do better. Don't mislead people and be like, oops, sorry, I was so impassioned by it. And no, that's not going to be okay. What did LaBelle say? Good intentions sure ain't enough. All right? What's the other saying? The road to hell is paved with good intentions. It's just not enough. So keep your well-intended ass in your lane. And please learn what it is you're talking about by the people who have been taught. Get an apprenticeship going. Speak to them about maybe becoming a mentor for you and how that looks and what that may look like for you. But don't do it. Let me tell you something right now. I can guarantee you a good 9 out of 10 people with a Hotepian name of Aso, Ra, Machemet don't have Ocha. A good portion of them don't. They out here trying to mix a bunch of shit and trying to be Hotepian. And y'all know what I mean by Hotepian. That they are so enamored with the idea of a Pan-African nationalism that they fail. They tend to umbrella all of Africa. They get mad when white people do it, but they tend to umbrella all of Africa under this notion of Africa. And then they don't understand the various cultures, languages, and ways of the various people there. So you cannot just mix everything. That's not the way it works. Just putting that out there for those who need to know such things. But anyway, I'm going to head out now. I just really wanted to touch base because this is really, really, really crazy. And I really hope that some of you find help with this, find some insight. If you need referrals, I usually know people in most of the cities. I will try to get somebody to help you if you need some direction. If you have any general questions, I will answer them publicly. I have nothing to hide. Again. But, you know, pass this along, y'all, because there's so many people out here just playing games. They're playing games, and it's sad. It's really sad. Anyway, respectfully and in love, again, this is David Sosa. I'm signing off, and I hope everyone has a wonderful, happy, happy, happy New Year. Thank you. Bye.